A horse met 6 wild wolves and did something that terrified the photographer. Usually, when we think of wolves and wolf packs, we imagine them to be very dangerous and able to easily take down their prey through the use of their intelligence and their teamwork. Well, it seems this horse didn't get the message and instead chose to do something which stunned the photographers who were watching it and later the world. This story took place in the winter of 2018 in the region of Abruzzo in Italy. Abruzzo is a beautiful region with the coast on one side and mountains running through it. It was on these snow-capped mountains that one photographer and his friend witnessed something amazing. One day, a nature photographer awoke to see a beautiful blanket of fresh, untouched snow littering the floor. Seeing the world in a new and beautiful light, the photographer decided that he wanted to get outside to see what kind of nature and landscapes he could take pictures of whilst they were covered in the pristine snow. Being in a region with stunning and awe-inspiring mountains meant that the photographer had a lot of different and amazing landscapes that he could take pictures of in the hopes that people would buy his work. Deciding this, the man called up his friend, who was also a photographer, and asked him if he would like to join him in a trek into the woods and wilderness to try and capture some unique and amazing shots. The friend instantly agreed. What better way was there to spend a snow day than to go on a leisurely walk through the beautiful wilderness? As well as wanting to spend some time with his friend, the photographer also knew that it was wise to take someone with him into the forests, as there were deadly predators who lived in them, such as bears and wolves. He could slip and fall because of the snow, so having a buddy with him made him feel safer. Once they were ready, the photographer and his friend set off on their adventure. They headed out into the woods, ready to take some amazing pictures with their cameras. But they never would have guessed what they found instead. The two men walked for a few hours before coming to a more remote location. It was there that they discovered a lone horse meandering around the clearing. It was clear that the horse was looking for some food. However, because it was winter, there was very little for the large animal to graze on. To make matters worse for the poor creature, the snow that blanketed the ground was at least a few inches, centimeters thick, meaning that any grass that might have still been available was buried underneath the freezing snow. The two men watched the horse for quite a while. They were curious to see how this animal was going to find what it was looking for. However, after an hour or so, the two photographers noticed a pack of wolves making their way over to the clearing. The pack stopped on the other side of the clearing, seemingly content to not get too close to the horse. Seeing that the canines were so calm, the photographers figured that the animals had possibly already eaten, which was why they weren't trying to attack the horse. But it was at that moment that the lone horse noticed some vegetation to eat. The only problem was that it was right next to the wolf pack. But that didn't seem to matter to the horse, who did something that terrified the photographers. The large animal calmly made his way over to where the food was, completely ignoring the vicious canines that were currently in the area. It seemed the horse was just too hungry to let the opportunity for some food pass him by. As the two photographers watched the horse approach the wolves, they became terrified over what might happen. They thought that the canines would simply attack the horse if it got too close. But the horse didn't share in the men's fear. But as the larger animal continued to feast on the vegetation, completely at ease with the situation, the photographer noticed something very strange. All of the wolves began to act odd. It was as if the canines didn't know what to do about the horse. The photographers were astonished to see even a few of the wolves back away from the horse, scared of just what the larger creature wanted from them. It seemed to the photographer that the wolves were frightened of the horse and worried that it would attack them first. It had large hooves and very powerful legs, so a kick from the horse would seriously hurt the wolves. Both photographers waited, making sure to document the encounter with the 6 wolves, as they were curious as to what would happen next. As the two men watched the animals interact, they could feel just how much tension there was between them. The slightest wrong move could lead to the wolf pack attacking the horse, and in the middle of the pack, the large mammal wouldn't have much of a chance of escaping. However, throughout the entire time that the horse was grazing, it made sure to keep its nose to the ground, as if trying to reassure the wolves that it was not a threat and that it was only near them for the food. Just as the two photographers thought that something terrible might happen, things took an unexpected turn. The horse, whilst standing in the middle of the pack, suddenly lowered himself to the ground and began to play in the snow. The photographers couldn't believe what they were seeing. The horse was putting itself in an even more vulnerable position by exposing its tummy, and yet the animal didn't seem to care. More than that, the wolves were so stunned and confused at what was happening, they didn't dare take a step towards the horse. Unbothered by everything else around it, the horse continued to happily roll in the fresh snow, clearly enjoying itself. The animal even swished some snow up with its tail, almost catching one of the wolves in the face. After a few more minutes of rolling around, the horse stood back up and shook itself off. This time, the snow actually did hit one of the wolves, who quickly jumped back at the sudden attack of snow. With its belly full and its want for a bit of fun satisfied, the horse then began to wander off and away from the wolf pack, happy to go and find more food. As the horse walked away, the wolves all stood around, stunned, and watched as the larger animal left. The two photographers couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. But why was the horse so confident around the wolves? And why didn't the wolves attack the horse? Surely it would have been a quick and easy meal for the canines. Well, Swedish animal expert Jonas Wallström saw the video that the photographers had taken and came up with a theory about why the Italian wolves didn't attack. He told Swedish news outlet Aftonbladet that it would have been a different story if it had taken place in Sweden. Had it happened in Sweden, the wolves would have acted differently. A horse is roughly the same size as a moose, so they would have attempted to kill it without hesitation. A moose in Sweden would obviously have tried to run. It certainly wouldn't have laid down with the wolves around. The man went on to state that the footage is from Italy. This means that the horses are not familiar with wolves, at least not in being eaten by them. Similarly, Italian wolves are not used to chasing moose and big animals, as their cousins in Värmland are. They mostly scavenge for their food, or settle for smaller fare like hares, and sometimes a dog or two. This means that one of the reasons why the wolves didn't attack the horse was because they simply didn't understand that they could. However, there could be another reason, and that is that the animals were simply happy to live side by side with one another. Either way, this amazing encounter is one that the photographer and his friend couldn't believe, and they knew that it had been a once-in-a-lifetime chance to witness such an interaction. What an incredible story! Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos. And if you can't wait to see more, simply head on over to my channel where you'll find even more awesome stories.